We've seen how we can get very rapid access to sub-threshold traumas. We also know from our own Human Gibbons work that we can get very rapid access to PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, the really powerful negative memories. They are instantly accessible. And by using the rewind technique, as it has been further developed with minefields, we know that we can get very high success rates for post-traumatic stress disorder. We can now easily and quickly get at most sub-threshold traumas if the patient is willing to look at this stuff, because they may not be. But it is possible to get right into the conditioning store like that, reframe it, and change the conditioning. You don't have to have long-term behaviour therapy to change this type of conditioning. It's instantly accessible if you go about it the right way. But that leaves us with a problem, though. How on earth do we get access to the pleasure memories? Now, a brave therapist I know has tried to rewind compulsive pleasures relating to addictions, and it just doesn't work. So the pleasure memories, up to now, we haven't had a tool for getting access to them. Now, because some people who have problems with pleasure memories get very motivated, and we can work with them to develop their strengths and increase their motivation, etc., etc., we do get significant degrees of success with people with that whole gamut of addictions, spreading from sexual addictions to chemical addictions. But there is always a very significant proportion that with our best efforts we just can't get through. And I spent 10 years working and teaching on the faculty of a college that specialized in addictions. And with the best will in the world, using the best tools, there is always a significant proportion that we just can't reach. There's a problem at getting to the basis of their conditioning. And that's what I want to suggest a solution to this afternoon. And the idea we're going to explore is something we've called molar memories. And I want to put forward an idea, an organizing idea that can explain why it's been so difficult, historically speaking, why we've experienced so much difficulty in treating a whole range of addictions. And it's because the brain has to have a special way of dealing with pain-pleasure memories. Pain-pleasure memories are about experiences that are both pleasurable and painful. There are not many experiences in this world that are singularly pleasurable. Everything seems to come at a risk of some pain, doesn't it? So most of our pleasures, if you like, are circumscribed by pain at some time or other. If you spend too much, you're going to be broke. Older people tell you off if you're a kid, if you're playing too much soccer or too much football. If you try to enjoy sex, and if it isn't in the way that's approved of by the adult generation, you're certainly likely to be told off for that. So we would expect to find a lot of conditioned pain reactions circumscribing pleasure. And this would have been a real problem for human beings as they evolved, and other animals as well. On the one hand, nature has given us a drive to pursue pleasures, but they carry a risk because we can be attacked in the pursuit of pleasure. That means that animals had to develop a memory system that accessed pain before pleasure. It is no good getting a memory after you've been savaged by an animal that's stronger than you. Oh yeah, I should have realized he'd go after me after you've been savaged. It's a bit late in the day then. You have to be able to assess the risk before you pursue the pleasure, which means that memories involved with pleasure and pain have to be coded in the brain in such a way that the painful aspect of the memory comes into consciousness before the pleasurable aspect. Suddenly, we have an explanation that eluded Freud. We don't need repression. We don't need weird fantasies about having sex with your parents. There is no repression. All there is a brain system that codes memories so that the pain comes to consciousness before the pleasure, because without it, we couldn't survive. Using this very basic and readily understandable principle, we have been having phenomenal success treating conditions that erstwhile were untreatable. So molar memories can account for previously untreatable cases of anorexia, bulimia, sexual addictions, other addictions, and compulsive anger. Because I see anger as fitting into the pleasurable dimension rather than the pain dimension. Because my definition of pleasure and pain is pain you want to go away from the stimulus. It's something you want to retreat away from whatever is out there. But the positive memories or the pleasure take you towards it. So if you want to eat it, have sex with it, make love to it, or if you want to attack it, they're all taking you towards the stimulus. Now I want to give you some examples of using molar memories. They are so easy to do once you get your brain around the concept. Once you just have a clarity in your mind of what it is exactly we're after, molar memories are phenomenally easy to work with. If you look at something called sexual paraphilias, that is sexually aberrant behaviours. There's almost no records of success of people treating sexual addictions in terms of curing them. And for example, take a phenomenon like cross-dressing. It used to be called transvestism. Poor people suffering from this, usually men, would have been electrocuted and every kind of torture applied to them. And that would stop them cross-dressing and having fantasies whilst they were in the laboratory where they're being tortured. But as soon as they went home, they always reverted back to the behaviour. So this is a condition that has not been successfully treated. And I had a 30-year-old man come to see me with this problem. And I asked him to, in his mind, go back to an experience of cross-dressing and what it felt like and the feeling, above all, of wanting to cross-dress. And he was readily able to access that feeling, an opportunity to cross-dress and wanting to do it. And then I had him focus upon that feeling and say, where does it take you to? And I took him back to a memory of about 4 years old, he estimated, between 3 and 4, of when he was in the bathroom one day wearing his sister's clothes. He'd gone into the bathroom wearing his sister's clothes, he said, because he wanted to know what it was like to pee like a girl. So to have his sister's drawers on and to try holding himself and see what it was like to pee like a girl rather than a boy. And his mother came in and caught him doing this. She was scandalized, thought that this promised a future for him that she didn't desire. And she pulled him out and tore the clothes off him and berated the poor young kid. And that's the memory he went back to. So he said that wasn't a new memory to him. He'd always known that memory was there. He'd always known that he'd been shamed by his mother when he was caught wearing his sister's clothes. And he'd often wondered, could this be where this problem stems from? But having access to that memory had never changed it. But this time I said to him, okay, just back up a bit now. There you are in the memory. Your mother's ashamed. You just go back in the memory, earlier and earlier now. Go back to when you first go into the bathroom. You have the garment with you. You're putting it on. What do you feel? And suddenly he said, I feel pleasure, he said. I feel a sense of excitement, sexual excitement. I feel a pleasure. So he'd accessed the pleasure memory. It was only a mild degree of pleasure associated with wearing females' clothes. Then we reframed the whole situation that his mother had been frightened and thought this was unusual behaviour, whereas we now know it's perfectly normal for children to play around with sexual identity and to explore. Totally normal. There was nothing wrong, and it was absolutely normal for you to have had the feelings that you had there and the behaviours that you had there were totally normal. After that treatment session, the man totally lost his desire for cross-dressing. A condition that was supposed and is regarded today as untreatable was gone. He never had an impulse to cross-dress again after that. Since then, we have applied molar memory to several other sexual addictions, including compulsive sexual relationships, compulsive masturbation, compulsive pornography seeking, and they've all remitted to molar memory. Now, we haven't gone on the full range of sexually aberrant behaviours, but the ones that we have explored have remitted.